The Curse of the Mummy by Joyce Hannam.
Chapter 1. Where are Tutankhamun's treasures? August the 4th, 1922. The Valley of the Kings. Here I am at last, in the Valley of the Kings. It's a valley in the desert, with lots of sand, and the tombs of dead Egyptian kings in it. It took us a long time to get here, and we all felt very hot when we arrived. But that doesn't matter now. It's good to be here. I'm happy to be working with Mr. Carter. Lots of young men wanted to work with him in the Valley of the Kings, but he took me because of my father. My father and Mr. Carter are good friends. They often meet at the museum in Cairo. My father works there. Also, I'm a good artist. And I know a lot about Tutankhamun too. Did you know he was a king when he was only 9 years old? But he wasn't king for very long. He died when he was 18. That's only 1 year older than me. Why did he die then? Perhaps we can find the answer when we find his tomb. Mr. Carter thinks it's in the Valley of the Kings. He began looking for it 5 years ago, and he doesn't want to stop. Some people think he's crazy, but I don't. Nearly all the other old Egyptian kings have a tomb here, so why not Tutankhamun? There are about 20 of us, men and boys, working here in the valley. Perhaps I can make friends later, but for now I'm going to write this diary, and my diary can be my friend. There aren't any shops or cinemas here, so I need something to do in the evenings. And perhaps one day people are going to want to read my diary. Why? Well, perhaps we're going to find Tutankhamun's tomb, or a different king's tomb, or some new treasures. Egyptian tombs have lots of treasures in them. You know, gold and jewels. But thieves took treasures from many of the tombs in the past. And there are tomb thieves in Egypt today too. People come from all over the world to look for gold and jewels. When they find a tomb, they take all the treasure home to their countries. I think that's very bad. I'm happy to say Mr. Carter is not a thief. He says Egyptian treasures must stay in Egypt. I think he's right. But our work's not going to be easy. Mr. Carter has only 1 year now to find Tutankhamun's tomb. He's got a rich friend, Lord Carnarvon, and he gives Mr. Carter money to help with our work. Lord Carnarvon likes Egypt a lot, and he loves old Egyptian treasures. He's got lots of them in his home in England. But after giving Mr. Carter money for 5 years, he must be careful. Not long ago, he called Mr. Carter to England and told him,
"Only 1 more year looking for Tutankhamun, Howard."
Mr. Carter came back to Egypt at once. He brought a little yellow bird with him.
"That bird is going to help us find Tutankhamun's tomb,"
said Kareem. He's one of the boys working in the valley with me. How can a little bird help us? I don't know, but it's true we need some help from something or someone. Perhaps you think a year's a long time. It's not when you're looking for a little tomb in a very big valley. Where are all of Tutankhamun's treasures? Mr. Carter thinks he knows, and I think he's right. But let's wait and see. Well, good night, diary. From me, Tarek. August the 25th, 1922. Today, I'm going to tell you something about our days in the desert. We begin work very early every morning when the sun comes up. We dig for 6 hours with not much water to drink. At 12 o'clock, it is very, very hot. So we stop to eat, to drink, and to sleep. After 2 hours, we begin digging again. We stop when it gets dark. My back and my arms always feel bad in the evenings. We're very hungry when the sun goes down, and the nights in the desert are very cold. Everyone is tired, so we don't talk much when we're eating dinner. I don't know what other people think about all day, but I think about Tutankhamun. Mr. Carter says he lived with his brothers and sisters when he was a little boy. Later, he married the beautiful Anchor Cinnamon. Some people say he has no tomb because he died suddenly when he was very young. But tombs were very important in old Egypt, and Mr. Carter thinks Tutankhamun has his tomb somewhere in this valley. But where? It's late now, and the sky is dark. Suddenly I feel cold. Is Tutankhamun's body in a tomb somewhere near us now? Are we going to find it soon? Is Mr. Carter's little yellow bird going to help us or not? Who knows? September the 12th, 1922. Some visitors came to the Valley of the Kings today. People often come here to look at the open tombs. They look at the pictures in the tombs and the bodies of the dead kings. We call them mummies, you know. Today's visitors were artists from France. They said everyone in Europe is interested in Egypt now. They are building new Egyptian cinemas and hotels in the big cities. And shops are selling Egyptian beds, tables, chairs, and pictures too. Artists can make a lot of money with Egyptian things. A young girl with dark hair and a beautiful, strong face walked along the valley behind the other artists. For a minute, she looked at me. Then suddenly, she dropped something in the sand and began to look for it. I went to help her. After a minute, I found it. A gold bracelet with an Egyptian eye on it. I gave it to her and she smiled.
Thank you,
She said.
My teacher, Mr. Ayrton, gave it to me for my birthday. Isn't it nice? I didn't want to lose it.
She had beautiful dark eyes. I wanted to speak to her, but what could I say? Excuse me, Anne, you have a beautiful face. Ugh, of course not. I know her name is Anne because an older man called to her,
Come on, Anne!
Coming, Mr. Ayrton.
she said, and she ran after him. In the evening, the French artists left and went back to their hotel in Luxor. Anne smiled at me when she left, but then her teacher, Mr. Ayrton, called her and the smile left her face and she ran after him again. Am I going to see Anne again? I like her a lot, but I don't like her teacher, Mr. Ayrton. He's a lot older than her. Perhaps he's a very good artist, but why must she run to him every time he calls her? She needs to be with young people, not old Mr. Ayrton. It's another beautiful night tonight. Desert nights are wonderful. But again, I feel very cold. I think the dead kings come near us and watch us at night. I can feel their dead eyes looking at us coldly. Some people think they're angry with us for digging here. They say bad things happen to people when they go into Egyptian tombs looking for treasure. But Mr. Carter is okay, and he began digging in Egypt years ago. So perhaps they're wrong. Chapter 2. There's something here. November the 4th, 1922. Something wonderful happened today. We found a step in the sand. It was about 4 p.m. when someone suddenly cried out behind me. It was my friend Kareem.
Tariq, quick! There's something here!
I ran to him and we dug fast. We soon found a step in the sand, and under the first step, we could see a second one. I said, "Stop! We must get Mr. Carter." Someone found Mr. Carter and he ran over to us. When he saw the step, he was very excited and he couldn't speak. We all waited. Then he found his voice.
Dig!
He cried.
Dig, I say!
So we all dug very quickly, and we found 5 more steps before the sun went down. Then we stopped. Now we are all very tired, but very excited. At dinner, there were many questions in all our heads. What are we going to find next? Is there a tomb here? Is it going to be open or closed? Early tomorrow morning, we must dig more. I don't think I'm going to sleep very much tonight. At last, there is something new in the sand. And my friend Kareem found it. November the 6th, 1922. Tonight, I can tell my diary everything. But only my diary. Mr. Carter says we can't tell people about the steps in the sand. He says they're very important. Today, we found 16 steps in the sand. Then, we found a door. And the most important thing? The door wasn't open, but had old Egyptian seals on it. Mr. Carter went down the steps and looked at the seals very carefully for a long time. We all waited in the sand under the hot sun. Down in the dark, looking at that old Egyptian door, Mr. Carter began to laugh.
They're his seals!
He called up to us.
Tutankhamun's seals! I think it's his tomb at last! Well done, everybody!
We all laughed and cried. It was very exciting. But after a time, Mr. Carter said we must all be quiet. He doesn't want newspaper men to hear about this and to come to the Valley of the Kings bringing lots of visitors.
First, I must tell Lord Carnarvon,
said Mr. Carter.
We can't open the door without him. Put all the sand back and say nothing about this.
So we covered the door and all the steps under the sand again. And now we must wait for Lord Carnarvon. It's going to take 2 weeks or more for him to come to Egypt by ship from England. How can we keep quiet for 2 weeks? It's a good thing I'm far from my family. And that beautiful French artist Anne is far away now. I think she would like to hear all about this too. Without them here, there's nobody to talk to. Nobody but you, my diary. November the 12th, 1922. Something very strange happened today. A snake killed Mr. Carter's yellow bird and ate it. Kareem was ill and his face went white when he heard about it.
The yellow bird helped us to find Tutankhamun's tomb,
he said.
But now Tutankhamun sends this snake to kill the bird because he is angry with us. We must stop digging at once and never, never open the boy king's tomb.
Mr. Carter told Kareem to be quiet and not to say all those crazy things in front of the younger boys.
Listen to me, Kareem,
he said.
Tutankhamun died thousands of years ago. He can't be angry with us. Do you hear?
Who is right about Tutankhamun? Mr. Carter or Kareem? I don't know, but I'm beginning to feel afraid. November the 23rd, 1922. Today, at last, Lord Carnarvon and his daughter Evelyn arrived. Lord Carnarvon doesn't look well. His face is very white and tired. When they arrived, we took the sand off the steps and the door again. Lord Carnarvon and Mr. Carter went down the steps to look at the seals on the door. They were very excited. Lord Carnarvon's daughter stood next to me on the first step, and I heard her say,
"I hope there's something there this time. Oh, Father, you're very tired and ill. I hope this visit doesn't make you feel worse."
She spoke very quietly, but I heard her. Lord Carnarvon and Mr. Carter stayed down looking at the door for a long time. They were very quiet. We went away to have something to eat and drink. When we came back an hour later, they came up the steps to meet us.
"Some of the seals on the door are broken,"
said Lord Carnarvon.
"So we're not the first people to find the door. Perhaps the tomb behind the door has nothing in it."
Nobody spoke. Everybody thought of all the golden treasures we hoped to find there.
"But,"
Lord Carnarvon continued,
"it's a wonderful thing to find a new tomb. We may find pictures on the walls or mummies or other beautiful things. Our work is very important. There are stones behind the door, and we must now move away the stones."
So we worked all afternoon. The stones are big and heavy, and I don't know when we're going to finish. Perhaps tomorrow. It is cold again tonight. Are we going to find treasure in Tutankhamun's tomb? Is his angry spirit near us, watching us? I am too tired to think or to write any more now. Good night, diary. Chapter 3. Into the Tomb. November the 26th, 1922. It was late at night. I saw that French artist Anne far away in the desert. I felt happy. She came nearer and nearer to me. Now I could see her face, and it was very sad. I wanted to speak to her, to take her in my arms, but she was far, far away from me. Then I saw something moving in the sand next to her feet. It was a head and an arm. At first, I thought it was old Mr. Ayrton, her teacher, But then I saw it was the mummy of an old Egyptian king. Worse than that, it was alive. "Anne!" I cried, and I ran to help her. Then the mummy came out of the sand. It took Anne in its black arms, and down they went into the sand. Anne cried,
Help me, Tariq!
but there was nothing I could do. I woke up in my bed in our camp, feeling cold and afraid. It was only a dream after all. We moved the last big stone at 5 p.m. today, and we saw a second door behind the first. There were seals on this door too, and Mr. Carter said they were Tutankhamun's seals again. But this time, the seals were not broken. I could see Lord Carnarvon and Mr. Carter were happy. But they didn't want to look excited in front of us.
It's late.
They said to us.
Of course, we can't open the tomb without the most important Egyptian people being here.
So there is nothing more you can do today. Go and eat now. We want to look carefully at these seals again.
We walked slowly away, and everyone began talking excitedly.
Tariq,
I heard suddenly.
could you please wait?
It was Mr. Carter's voice. My friends walked on to the camp, and I went back and looked down the steps.
Come down.
Said Lord Carnarvon. I went down the steps and stood next to him and Mr. Carter in front of the tomb door.
We're going to make a little hole in this door and look into the tomb,
said Mr. Carter.
We want you to be with us because your father wants to know everything about our work here. You can draw pictures of everything. Do you understand?
Of course, I said yes. They made a little hole in the door. Carter looked through it with one eye. Lord Carnarvon and I waited. Carter said nothing.
What can you see?
Asked Lord Carnarvon at last.
Wonderful things,
answered Mr. Carter slowly. Then Lord Carnarvon and I looked. We saw gold and jewels and treasure everywhere behind the door. I can see golden animals and chairs and... Shh, said Mr. Carter.
More quietly, please, Tariq. We don't want everyone to hear.
Tomorrow, we must cover the doors and the steps with sand again,
said Lord Carnarvon.
But tonight...
He stopped speaking. He and Mr. Carter looked at me. I looked from Lord Carnarvon to Mr. Carter. Can we go into the tomb tonight? I asked. To have a look.
What do you want to do?
Asked Lord Carnarvon.
I think your father would like you to come with us.
I didn't take long to answer. I'm coming, I said. We're going into the tomb at midnight with lights. We must wait for some hours. When everyone in the camp is sleeping, we can go. November the 27th, 1922. It took us 2 hours to make a hole in the door. We worked very quietly so we couldn't finish by midnight. At 2 a.m. we were ready. Lord Carnarvon went first and then Mr. Carter. I went in last after Lord Carnarvon's daughter. The long room was hot, and our lights nearly went out when the air in the tomb moved for the first time in 3,000 years. Slowly, we began to see strange animals and golden statues and chairs. We looked at everything without speaking. All those beautiful things. I saw a little statue of an Egyptian girl, and I remembered the face on it. But from where? Suddenly, I knew. It was Anne's face. I remembered my dream. There was something strange happening here. Something between Tutankhamun, Anne, and me.
Look at the 2 black statues in front of us,
said Mr. Carter.
I think they're statues of Tutankhamun. Between them, there's a new door. Who wants to go through it with me?
Lord Carnarvon wanted to go with him, but his daughter and I were afraid. I felt the spirit of Tutankhamun was in the long, hot, dark room with us, and I wanted to get out into the cold night air.
It's all right,
said Mr. Carter.
You 2 can wait for us outside. But we need your help to make a hole in this new door. It won't take long.
So we helped them. After they went through the door, we left the tomb. The stars looked down at us, and it was very cold. At last, the other 2 came through the door near us. We worked to close the hole carefully. What did you see in the second room? We asked.
A golden wall.
They answered.
The body of Tutankhamun is somewhere behind that.
This is a wonderful day for all of us.
By then, it was early morning, and I went back to my tent and slept all day. Now it's evening again, and I'm afraid. But who can I talk to about my feelings?